I'm in red form, in a red state, such a red case on a red song. In a shared space with my shareholders, cause we share a bond. Spiritual healthcare, that's real self-care, you won't care for.
I got my Mets hat on to the back. Y'all already know where we going with the stats.
Any artist that's talking garbage and try to curse us, y'all follow a wave and do whatever's current. I follow his ways, I know my turn is coming.
Welcome to New York Giants Full Access. What's going on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all platforms? Welcome to another episode of New York Giants Full Access with your boy Big Pat Sports Talk. And today's subject is, will Joe Schoen show Saquon Barkley the money? Now, there has been rumor that Saquon Barkley and Joe Schoen and the Giants are far off on negotiations as far as contract. They're saying that Saquon Barkley wants between 14 and 16 million a year, and Joe Schoen and the Giants are only willing to go up to $12 million a year, which is basically around the same number that they were offering during the trade deadline this season. And the question is, should the Giants pay Saquon Barkley moving forward, or should they let him walk and test free agency to see what he can get? And I truly believe that these negotiations are going to be a little troublesome because the running back position is not as valued as other positions on the football field, like a receiver or a quarterback or an offensive lineman. A lot of people think that you could just go the running back by committee route and you will be just fine. Saquon's production, he had over 1,300 yards rushing. What about, believe between 300 and 500 yards receiving, 10 touchdowns. And a lot of people think that you can get more or close or even more production out of doing a running back by committee. So the question is, if you do let Saquon Barkley walk, who do you replace him with? Now, I see a lot of people saying you get rid of Saquon Barkley because he was a number 2 pick and he really shouldn't have been the pick by Dave Gettleman that year anyway. But then I hear those same people turn around and say you draft Robinson out of Texas in the first round. So I'm not understanding that logic right there. If you have one of the premier running backs in the league, is it simply because you don't want to pay him because you feel that he's not worth $14 million a year? Because if you bring Robinson in here, yes, he's younger. I'll give you that. And yes, he will cost less. But do you really think Robinson can come in and give us that same production Saquon Barkley gave us this past year when he was healthy? I don't know. I don't think you get that same production, but that's just me. But you got to look at both sides of this. Yes, running backs are not a great commodity anymore in free agency. Their shelf life is low. A lot of people are going by running back by committee. They look at the Chiefs. They have Isaiah Pacheco, who was a 7th round pick, who was their leading running back going into the Super Bowl. So people have a lot of things that they can't say the reasons why you let them walk and you let them get that money elsewhere. But then people will say the same thing about Christian McCaffrey. He became one of the best things San Francisco did as far as getting weapons for any quarterback over there with San Francisco. Christian McCaffrey was a beast this year when he was healthy. But then the health comes into play. Saquon Barkley this year and his rookie year, and he was pretty healthy his second year, but those have been the only years out of his 5 years that he's been healthy. So I know that's going on at the negotiation table. Me personally, I try to work out a deal in the middle, somewhere between 12.5 and 13 million. If that's not good enough, then maybe I do let him walk and we try to run it back by committee. I bring back Breida. We got Brightwell. We draft a running back, but not in the first round. It doesn't make sense in my case. But I think these negotiations can get a little ugly. Definitely if they have to use the franchise tag on Daniel Jones, which I don't believe they will. But if they do have to use the franchise tag on Daniel Jones, you might see Saquon Barkley not in the Giants uniform, because you can't franchise both. You can't franchise Daniel Jones and then franchise Saquon Barkley. And if you do franchise Daniel Jones, are you willing to give Saquon Barkley his $14 million a year, which he's going to want most of that money up front if he was smart, because he's a running back and their shelf lives are not as high as a quarterback. So he would want to get his money now, which I don't blame him one bit. I think he deserves his money. He did everything that this organization asked from him this year, same as Daniel Jones. I think they both deserve their money. Now, the issue is do they value Saquon Barkley as one of the top paid running backs in the league, knowing that you want to lower his workload? See, that's the thing that's coming to the table. If I'm paying a running back that type of money and his workload was 83%, do you feel that they should keep him at that 83% workload, or pay him that money and find ways to lower his workload? That's another thing that's coming into question. So there's a lot of things that's going into question with this Saquon Barkley contract. I want him back. I'm going to put that out there. Big Pat Sports Talk wants Saquon Barkley back because he's a captain. He's a leader. He's one of the heartbeats of this team. And I think this team is a lot better team with Saquon is on the field. But then on the other hand, you got to look at the business side of it as well. You can't just go into negotiations with feelings, because you're going to wind up overpaying people. Kenny Galladay. So what do you think the Giants should do with Saquon Barkley and his contract? Should they cave into his demands, which has been reported? It's only been reported, so we don't really know exactly what he's going in there saying. But if he refused the $12.5 or $12 million deal during the trade deadline, I'm quite sure he's going to refuse it now that we're in the offseason, especially since we went to the playoffs and we won a playoff game. He had a nice rushing touchdown in that game. So I'm thinking that he's asking for at least $14 million a year, and for it to be up front, so you will have huge cap hits in the very first and second years of that contract. And you know they're going to build it in where they could get a third year out for the team. So do you sign him to a 5-year deal, 5 years, $60 million, with a out in the third year of the contract, and and his guaranteed money is probably going to be more complicated than DJ's guaranteed money, because he's a running back. He knows that his shelf life is not as long as other positions on the field, and he's going to want his money up front. So there's a lot of variables to this contract negotiations that we can't account for. The only people that can account for it is the people that's sitting at the table. But my guess is he's going to want $14 million a year, probably 3-year deal to where he could get out of that deal again. So that'd be about 3 years, $42 million, with about $30 million guaranteed. And he's going to want most of that in the first 2 years. So his hits are going to be pretty good, man. It's probably going to be around $17 million the first year, probably around $15 million the second year, and he wants that third year to be the lowest number, so he won't lose out on most of his contract if they move on from him in that third year. And I think Joe Shane may want to spread it out in 5 years to give him $60 million, with about $20 to $25 million guaranteed. But I have to look at other running back contracts to make my opinion, a little bit more stable on this subject. But I want Saquon Barkley back, but it's going to have to be at the right number. Just keeping it honest with you. So you guys let me know what you think. Thank you guys for tuning in to New York Giants Full Access with your boy Big Pat Sports Talk. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that big blue join button, and go over to the Rumble channel. The link is in the description, and hit that follow button where we can do more live shows on Rumble. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until the next episode, you know what it is, man. Peace. This is a Big Blue Crew production.